Hey, Mr. Neal here. I want to show you how to do a box plot. We're going to use the same data we used for the histogram about bird watching. Here are the numbers that we used. I want you to compare this to histogram when you're done. Well, to make a box plot, the very first thing we have to do, and there's like 5 easy steps, is to put the numbers in order from the least to the greatest. So the smallest number is 1, and as I put these in order, I like to cross them out. Now, I'm trying not to bunch them up because we may have to put some lines between them later. I'll explain this to you in a few minutes of why. And I may make a mistake and I may need to, put a little number in there somewhere. So we have 1, 2, 3 threes. Looks like the next number in our data is 6. Then 7. Yeah, probably need some commas so I won't like 11s. 8. Oh, there's 2 6s. See, that's exactly why I need to do that. And there's a 10, a 12, and a 14. Hopefully I got them all. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I think that was how many there were, but to make sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Good. Always double check yourself. Now that we have them in order from the least to the greatest, we need to find the medians. We'll explain more about that when we talk about interpreting the data. To make the box plot, though, we'll need 5 points. These 5 points are going to start off with finding the median. That's the middle number or the average of the two middle numbers. So we have 15 numbers. Half of 15 is 7.5. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that means that this should be the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 numbers on the right and 7 numbers on the left of this one number. So this is our middle number, our median. That's one of the 5 points that we will need. Now we go to the lower half of the data and we find the middle number or the average of the two middle numbers in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 numbers. That means the middle number is after 3. There's 3 numbers on this side and 3 numbers on this side. That lower number, sometimes people call it a lower quartile, and then we also can call it quartile 1. So I'm going to put both initials there, lower quartile, but I like to refer to it as quartile 1. Technically, the median is quartile 2. Think of it as like the first quarter, second quarter. We're going to find the third quarter, and the fourth quarter is, the whole amount. In the middle over here, 1, 2, 3. That means that this is the middle number. You can always go back and forth, but I only have one hand available right now. As you can tell, the other hand's holding this camera. So we have 3 numbers on the left and 3 numbers on the right. This is the upper median, which we call the upper quartile, which is UQ, or quartile 3, because this is technically quartile 2, even though we call it the median. So we found the median of the upper half and the median of the lower half. Now we use the smallest number, which is called the min, which is short for minimum or minimal. We can also call this the lower extreme. Now in 7th grade, you're going to do more with outliers with this, so it may end up becoming an outlier, one of these numbers. All right, this is called the upper extreme, which we call the max, which means the maximum amount. Or it's also called the upper extreme. Now, we need these 5 points of data. We need to make a number line that will include all of these numbers. Okay, so on this number line, make sure it will include these. So what I do is I will say, all right, from 1 to 14, so if I go by 5s, I should have it. I should have it just fine. Then I can go in there and put my little hash mark. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 10. 11, 12, 13, 14. And that's 15. Now, above it or below it, it really doesn't matter, but most often you will see it above it. In real life, you will see it in both places. You need to go up about at least 2 dots or somewhere where you can create some more structures. You can go above it or below it. Just make sure you always leave space above it. If you didn't do it and you're following along, you can go below it as well. No worries. So the first dot goes above the number 1, okay, because it's 1. The next dot goes above the number 2. The third dot in this particular thing is actually above the number 3, ironically. And then the fourth one is above the number 8. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to put a dot. And then for 14, it's all the way out here. So they're really scrunched together up here and they're way spread apart down here. Now we create our box plot. The lines on the outside connect like this. Now some people will call this a box and whisker plot, and those are called the whiskers. The middle 3 dots will form your box, and the line in the middle will always be your median. So we have constructed a box plot, or also called a box and whisker plot. This box plot has 5 points. We'll talk more about that later when we talk about interpreting the data. We have the lower extreme, which is called the minimum, right here. We have the lower quartile, which is called quartile 1. We have the median, which we can call quartile 2, but we don't often refer to it that way, because we can also call this quartile 3 and quartile 4. Quartile 3, and quartile is just another way of saying quarter, like a quarter amount. Like this is all 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. See what I'm saying? And you may think, well, this one looks awfully small and this one's awfully long. This one must have more data. No, it's just spread. They're really spread out. They're all bunched up together here because they're all the same number. So this little line right here, this part of the box, this bigger box, this long line all have the same amount of data. This has 25% of the data. You need to make sure you write this down. 25% of the data, that has 25% of the data. No matter how big or small these parts are, they all have exactly 25% of the data, which makes 100%. So even if it's a small part or a big part, all we are looking at is that it's really crunched up over here and spread out over here. Now this middle box right here is called the interquartile. The interquartile range. You need to find the interquartile range. It's called the IQR, the interquartile range, by subtracting the quartile 3 and quartile 1. Okay? I know these sounds like big words, but we're learning some words here. So your quartile 3 is 8, and your quartile 1 is 2. So when you subtract those, you have the interquartile range is 6. That just tells you how far it is from one side of this box to the other side. Like I told you, when we're doing bell curves, and we'll talk more about this later, these all have a meaning to them. We would look at this as the normal, and these are the above normal and below normal. Like above normal, I guess in this situation for birds, on days when there's a lot more birds than normal. This is the normal days for birds between 2 and 8. You would see on a normal day between 2 and 8 birds. And then the below normal would be the ones. All right, thanks for watching on how to build a box plot. We're going to talk a little bit later in a different video about how to interpret a box plot. Stay tuned.